Hello, CG leaders. It is good to share a couple thoughts with you about our upcoming Advent series. We're calling it Waiting with Hope, and this will last for all the Sundays in Advent. We are looking in this series at the theme that the church has often recognized during this time of year, and that is the theme of waiting. That really takes on a double meaning because on one hand, we are waiting for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and in that sense, we're practicing waiting until we can celebrate the birth of Jesus. But it's also true that as Christians, we are living between the two Advents, Jesus' first arrival and then his anticipated second arrival. And so there's a real sense in which we are still waiting, even though Jesus has come once, we are waiting for him to return to make all things new and set all things right. So the church has historically spent this season contemplating what it means to wait on the Lord, to wait specifically with hope. So over the next number of Sundays, we're going to look at various passages that pick up on this theme. We're going to begin the first Sunday in Advent in Romans chapter 8, and I'm going to talk about how Paul really frames the whole Christian life within this framework of cosmic waiting, that all of creation is longing for the day when Jesus returns, and we are caught up with all of creation in that waiting. The next Sunday, we're going to tackle the question, how long, O Lord, which shows up both in the Old and the New Testament. We're going to look the next Sunday at Matthew chapter 24, where Jesus is instructing us how to watch and wait. The next Sunday, we'll be in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, waiting for glory, waiting for that moment when we see Jesus face to face. John 14 will be the next Sunday, waiting for home, when Jesus talks about preparing a place for us. On Christmas, we'll explore waiting for Jesus and try to get inside the heads and the hearts of those who were waiting for the birth of Jesus. And then the last Sunday in Advent, we will open up to Revelation chapter 21, which is that wonderful passage in which we are reminded that we have good reason to wait with hope for healing. So, as you can tell, just in going through those various passages, we're going to cover a lot of ground. So one bit of advice I would have for you is to spend some time in that passage before your group meets, because it's just not going to build on itself in the way that like our First Thessalonians series has, where you can read ahead. They really are going to be in some ways separate units, but the theme that's uniting them is the theme of waiting and the different ways in which God is calling us to wait. The other thing I would encourage you to do as a group is to help one another connect what it's like to wait for Christmas and how that's training us in a way to wait for the second advent of Jesus. And even just telling stories about how you as a family are preparing for Christmas, or how, if you have kids, how your kids are excited about Christmas Day, or how maybe there are certain practices in your family around meals or around Advent calendars, just all those very practical ways that we may not realize it, but we really are learning how to wait. And then kind of making that connection with, well, what does it then mean to wait well for Jesus now? It doesn't mean nothing. The Bible is very clear we are to be engaged as we wait. And so making those connections, I think, will be really profitable and really, really helpful for you as a group. But also to recognize that even as we say that as Christians we are waiting for Jesus to return, it's not like we're waiting alone. We have the promise of the Holy Spirit. And so even as we wait for God, we wait with God, because Jesus promises to be with us. And we also wait with one another. In our First Thessalonians series, we've been saying over and over again in chapters 4 and 5, as we wait for the second advent of Jesus, Paul then turns around and says, therefore, encourage one another with these words. So we wait with God, we wait with one another. And I think that's important too, because a lot of waiting feels very lonely. It's not supposed to feel lonely in the Christian life. God is with us. We're given brothers and sisters to wait with. And so maybe exploring some of those wonderful gifts that God gives us in the midst of waiting. He gives us his presence, and he gives us one another. So I hope and I pray, and I have been praying, that this series will be really encouraging for us as a church. And once again, thanks for the work that you do, and thank you for the investment you're making in people's lives.